Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome here to Knoxville Wrestle Talk. We're live in the Big Bill Needham Memorial Studio here at Knoxville Community Media, formerly known as CTV. And this is our very special presentation remembering the Ktown Daddy. I'm your host, Joel Lawson. Joining me, of course, the ever-popular Dave Jones, your co-host of Wrestle Talk. Dave, good evening and welcome to the show tonight.
Hey, Joel, it's good to be here. It's good to, I hate the event that we're having to memorize here for Terry, but, you know, we're here and we're going to spend some time talking about him. So
absolutely. Also joining me tonight, of course, is a wrestling legend. He's known well around the Knoxville area, East Tennessee, and around the world. Some people call him the Bomb. He is Tom the Bomb Pitner. Tom, welcome to Wrestle Talk tonight.
Glad to be here on Wrestle Talk. It's been a while.
And we're also joined tonight, of course, by wrestling legend, ring announcer for the Tennessee Mountain Wrestling, and the legendary host of Wrestle Talk, and that is here my friend Sammy V. Sammy V, good evening and welcome to Wrestle Talk.
It's great to be here, JoJo. You know, this started back with Bill Needham, Terry Landell, and I happen to be honored to be on the first show, and here we are once again to honor the Ktown Daddy, Terry Landell.
And also joining us tonight, you know this familiar face, and if you're as crazy as he is, you'll definitely know the Sonny, man of 1,000 faces, Fargo down here. Sonny, of course, a part of a lot of the Wrestle Talk shows that took place right over at Andrew Johnson Building. Sonny, good evening and welcome to Wrestle Talk.
Thank you for having all of us up here, Joel. And, you know, I remember we had them on Gay Street. We had the great shows up there in the middle of Gay Street there. And it's just good that we can come up here and remember Terry on one of the things that he started.
Well, wrestling fans, you met all of our panel here tonight. And, you know, I have these two here, Sammy V and Tom Pitner. And these two are rivals from the past. So I believe that we can keep things kind of calm tonight. You know, I have Dave here with Tom Pitner. And Tom Pitner has a look on his face.
Well, I've been known to kick a man while he's down, and he's got a bum leg now, you know, so it could happen.
Well, Sammy V, you heard it from Tom Pitner here, and we hope that it don't happen up here tonight, but knowing you guys, you never can tell, right?
Well, I hope we wait till my foot gets healed, and then we can talk about it, because we want to make some money if we're going to do it.
Absolutely. We want to welcome all the fans joining us here on Wrestle Talk, and we have a 75-minute program coming your way. That's a long time, but we are going to take this opportunity tonight to celebrate the life and career of Mr. Knoxville, the Ktown Daddy, Terry Landell. Guys, think about it. It was 1979. I wasn't around. All of you guys were, I believe. Maybe Sammy. I don't know. But
what are you saying? I'm old?
I don't know. I mean, you're about as young as I am. I don't know about these other guys here, but
that is kind of hurtful thinking we're old men.
Right. Well, in 1979 in Knoxville, professional wrestling was part of the top 10 cities that wrestling was held in, of course. Great crowds came into the Knoxville Civic Coliseum, Chilhowee Park, Bill Meyer Stadium on occasion, WNO, just a lot of different places that wrestling took place. And at that point in time, one man got his start in the professional wrestling business. You might have recognized him with his afro or curly afro that he had, but that man was Terry Landell. Terry Landell got his start in the wrestling business, as mentioned from him several times in the year 1979. Tom Pitner, 1979. A long time ago.
Long time ago.
But wrestling in those days, of course, most of the time taking place at the Coliseum, Chilhowee Park. What are some of your memories from that part in time, and of course with Terry?
Well, I can even actually remember further back when Ron Wright was big rivalry was Whitey Caldwell here in Knoxville with John Kazana Promotions, Worldwide Wrestling, and I fell in love with it as a kid, and that's pretty much what I wanted to pursue and be, and I followed my dream just like Terry Landell did. He had a great love for the wrestling business.
Well, Terry Landell, of course, went to a lot of the matches that took place at Chilhowee Park. One of his favorite wrestlers being Ron Wright, and then, of course, Bob Orton Jr. I know that several photos that we've had with Terry has been with either Ron Wright, Bob Orton Jr., and of course the Bullet, Bob Armstrong. And what a great time that was in professional wrestling. And Sammy V, I don't know if you were around back then, 1970.
I'm hurt. I ain't gonna say nothing. Just kidding. Yeah.
But what are some of your memories, of course, from back then and with Terry?
Well, it was great wrestling back then. Choway Park. I carried papers where I could go and buy a ticket and watch some of the greats out there at Choway Park, Homer Hamilton Theater, and then the Coliseum. That's legendary. The guys that came through. I couldn't list the name. Hulk Hogan, probably the biggest one that wrestled at the Coliseum, the Stomper, and it goes on. And Terry loved wrestling.
Yes.
Sometimes he'd say he didn't like wrestling, and he would call me, and I would hear Raw in the background. I said, "Oh, okay."
Yes.
He loved wrestling, and he loved Wrestle Talk, which he did for like at least 10, 11 years that I can remember of, and brought on a lot of guys in, and we've had Buff Bagwell on here, and Ron Wright was a guest, Bob Orton Jr. We've had a lot of guys that come through Knoxville.
Yes. Well, absolutely. Wrestling fans, so many memories, of course, with Tom Pitner, and of course with Sammy V. And this fella next to me here, he most certainly was around in 79.
Well, I was around, yeah.
Yes.
He's about 35 when he's 79, I think.
Now, Dave, did you have any associate? We know that you're a huge wrestling fan. Back then, of course, the fans remember you from the '90s and up, with wrestling around here. But what are some of your memories of wrestling?
Well, gosh, I remember I watched it on Saturday like all the kids did. It was like the Road Runner and then wrestling, and it's hard to tell the difference. But man, when Ron Wright came in, you knew he was there. That was he was a loud mouth, and I liked that, and just Saturday mornings were great back then.
Absolutely. And speaking of someone here, we have the great Sonny Fargo here, and Sonny grew up in Knoxville and grew up going to the wrestling matches there at the Jacob Building and of course Choway Park, the Coliseum. Sonny, we'll simply ask you, who was one of your favorite wrestlers from back when?
Back when it was at the Coliseum, Terry would come over there. And that was back when Sterling Golden and Paul Orndorff were working. And my uncle would throw me in the wrestling ring, and Terry would just laugh. And Sterling Golden and Paul Orndorff would stomp me, and Terry just sat there laughing, saying, "Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy, boy? Who's your daddy now?"
Absolutely. Well, fans, you heard all these great memories, of course, of professional wrestling, and with these guys here growing up around the area. Of course, Terry Landell's old stomping grounds in Knoxville's Lonsdale, and Lonsdale was a place that he called home. A great community right here in Knoxville. We have a lot of viewers there in Lonsdale, and he grew up with a man that we know now, or of course, the legendary, the great Buddy Landell, and those guys grew up here in Knoxville. And Tom Pitner, I know that Knoxville's been home to you for a long time. Tell us about those days and growing up. And did you have any association with Terry?
Well, a lot of the association of being around Buddy and Terry during that time, I'll probably have to take a lot of that to the grave with me.
Yes.
So you don't want to share with us some of the stories.
Well, maybe I'll write a documentary or a book or something,
Yes.
And we'll take it a little more in depth then, or we'll just release it after I'm dead and gone.
Yes. Well, wrestling fans, on the screen there, we have the Tennessee Wrestling Federation memorial event. Of course, this is going to be remembering Terry Landell. This event is absolutely free to the community, and for more information, you can call the Wrestle Talk hotline. We do have a hotline. Call the hotline, as Terry would always say. That phone number is 865-282-4640. Give us a call. Let us hear from you, of course, on the Wrestle Talk hotline. And speaking of that very special Terry Landell Memorial event, we're going to have a Memorial Battle Royal. And my question, Tom Pitner, is could we see you in that Battle Royal? And I know we've not even talked to you about it yet, but March 18th, Lutchville, Tennessee. Could we see Tom Pitner there?
Well, it's possible because I believe I'm just in my prime.
Absolutely. Well, Tom, earlier today, I was looking at some classic Wrestle Talk videos, and I saw one that we're going to play a little bit later tonight. And you were in this video, and I think you're just about the same. Maybe there's a little bit of gray hair. I mean, a little bit lighter color hair, but we'll be playing that video later. And I believe Sammy V was on there as well, also with the legendary Ron Wright. That's going to be coming up here in just a few moments. Fans, don't miss out, of course, and we're going to talk to Sammy here about his possibility of coming out on March the 18th. I know that
I'm going to do my best to be there. I'm excited. The first annual ever Terry Landale Battle Royal. It's going to be great. I've heard some rumors that some of the guys are coming back. Rick Cannon, I think he's going to be there, and who knows? JT Coal Miner may show up. You may need 2 rings to cover everybody that's coming.
Well, absolutely, and we have our phones ringing here tonight, and fans are excited about Wrestle Talk live here in Knoxville. In just a few moments, you're going to see a phone number appear on your screen, and you will have the opportunity to call us live if you have a comment for Tom Pitner, or if you have a comment, of course, for Dave Jones, myself, Sammy V, or the great Sonny. We'll have that phone number available in just a little bit, and we'll start taking your calls live here on Wrestle Talk. Getting back to the memorial event that's going to take place, 5 huge matches that night, guys, and then, of course, the Terry Landale Memorial Battle Royal. TWF Wrestling was gracious enough, of course, to open its arms once hearing about our friend Terry Landale to host this event, and I made the decision just a few days ago to call it the Terry Landale Memorial Event, of course, in this Wrestle Talk episode. This was to be our debut episode here on Knoxville Community Media, but we decided to take this night to remember Terry Landale, his life and his career. And guys, I'm just going to kind of open it up to you all here. Soon we're going to be taking some live calls, but Tom Pitner, when you think about Terry Landale, of course, you know, it's hard to believe. It really is hard to believe, thinking about it, that he's not with us. And many memories of him and you, of course, in this studio. So open up to you. And
well, I guess one of the biggest things is when Terry was talking about running for mayor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
running for mayor.
And I don't know if it's fact or not, but rumor had it that Victor Ashe gave him some money to bow out.
Wow. Terry is liable to do anything, and I'm going to have someone come in and take some of our things here. Guys, we have some things here under the table, and I don't know what Tom Pitner might have had planned to hit Sammy with it or something. I hope not. I hope that is the case.
He's hit,
I've
if
been
not
sneaking
everything
around
else.
studios before.
We're going to have that stuff taken out. Fans, Wrestle Talk is live, and you never know.
Actual briefcase in case we need it, Joel.
We have a briefcase here, the official briefcase, and we're going to learn more about that as time goes by here on Wrestle Talk. A special thank you here to Knoxville Community Media Television. We'll talk about that in just a second. Recently, formerly CTV Knoxville, in the mid-90s, Wrestle Talk, hosted by, of course, the great Big Bill Needham. He was a legendary ring announcer. He was also a reporter for wrestling magazines.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated. A lot of the events that took place just all around East Tennessee, you could look it up there in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Bill Needham covered it. Bill Needham, a great photographer. You may have seen him many times for Smoky Mountain events, of course. And so we call this here at Community Media Television our Big Bill Needham Memorial Studio. Speaking of memories of Terry Landale, there was a point in time that I was here on Wrestle Talk. Honestly, I was probably about 17 years old, 16, 17, and I was given the opportunity to ring announce. Actually, I've been a ring announcer since I was about 14 years old, believe it or not, and had the opportunity to work for Ron's Championship Wrestling. You guys remember Ron's
Yes.
Championship
I remember the van.
Wrestling?
Remember
Yes.
the little van it had.
Somebody broke a window out.
A lot of things happened down here on Gay Street, right?
That's when it happened.
Man alive.
A lot of stuff's happened.
You know, Terry and CTV and him being in these studios, sometimes they had to kind of super glue things down because Terry's liable to pick up anything, do anything with it. And right out here in the parking lot, Sammy mentioned a moment ago, Dave Jones, you were there and you were a part of all that. Tell us your
I like to ask Sammy how he got to stay inside. Every time Terry got suspended, I had to go out with him. And Sonny was out there a few times. Freezing cold, and then send reports up every 5 or 10 minutes.
I didn't complain at all.
I know you didn't, man. I was like...
Guys, what about the time that Ron Wright was, I believe he was in the van. Somebody might know what I'm talking about here. Tell me about that, Dave. Yeah, Dave was right out here on Gay Street, and Ron Wright was in the van. Tell us about what happened there.
He drove up, and then a big cinder block, I believe, flew.
That's when
to
the window got broke.
Yes.
A lot of people thought it was Mr. X.
Yeah.
I couldn't see. I was getting ready. You know, they told me that Ron's going to make his appearance, and greet him. I just happened to have the camera with me because I thought, well, I thought he's coming up in the limousine, so I was gonna get that footage, and then I got the important footage of somebody throwing that brick in there, and then I tried to find them. They ran off, and then when I came around, Aunt Ron was just covered with blood. It was crazy.
Well, that was back in the crazy days of Wrestle Talk, right?
One of the crazy things that happened is that Terry said that Davy Jones throwed him out of the building, so he had set a table up there on Gay Street and poured tar on me and feathered me right out there in the middle of Gay Street. That was just was. And when he'd just sit there and laugh at you and say, "Who's your daddy?"
Absolutely. Sonny, of course, unfortunately has been...
He looked like a rooster.
He looked like a rooster that night, yes.
You remember that, Sammy?
I remember that.
I remember that. You almost froze to death, didn't you? That was
when
some
it was
cold
cold.
tar after. It wasn't hot tar for long.
But that's why I'm like Davy Jones. How did you always be able to stay in there and we had to go out there to code? And he always done it to us. But he ever do anything to you like that on all the times that you were announcing for him and wrestling for him and traveling the country with him, all the places?
I think Sammy's
one of
bit
his favorites.
Yeah. Well,
He was the first son.
Sometimes not.
Well, if I was near Sammy, I'd be a little intimidated. Sammy's a big old stout fella here, and of course he showed it in the ring. And Sammy, your wrestling days, of course, with being Sammy V, the great Sammy V, wonderful wrestler, and the fans loved you. I remember the dance.
And I loved
can we get a little preview of the dance tonight, though?
Well, without my foot, it'd be hard to get up there.
Yeah.
A one-legged Sammy V dance, that might be scary.
Yeah, I remember that Sammy B dance. The little kids, they'd come up old Sammy B, they'd try to learn to dance. And
I did that out of a joke, come out to the Backstreet Boys, and everybody liked it, so I kept doing it till this woman grabbed my hiney.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, that's extra.
Fans, it's liable to happen anywhere. I'm sure Tom Pitner's had that or worse happen a few times. I don't know.
Oh, there's been so many things happen. We fought out on the street, right here on Gay Street. It was just out of control. Jimmy Golden was an arch rivalry for a long time during that time, and we had some problems here in the studio with each other.
Yes.
But, we burnt that bridge. We get along good now. We'll talk on the phone occasionally, and, it's... sometimes you just got to bury the hatchet.
Yeah.
It's like Terry Landell. There's a lot of people, they love to hate him.
Yes.
And sometimes you got to love people from a distance. And sometimes I had to distance myself from Terry and just love him from a distance.
Yes.
Because I knew he was a shrewd businessman and a wrestling promoter. And he didn't want anybody doing anything to mess with Knoxville, because Terry... Knoxville, to him, it was his baby.
Yes. Terry Landell, of course, the Ktown daddy, Mr. Knoxville. Now, fans, you have the opportunity to call in live here to Wrestle Talk, and you can talk to myself or any of these characters, of course. Our phone number there is on the screen, 865-215-4337. Call in live and let's talk wrestling. Let's talk the memory of Terry Landell. And I know a lot of our fans have been sharing memories, of course, and photos and all kinds of things with us. from Terry Landell's wrestling career, and we appreciate that. So we're listening for your call, 865-215-4337, and we look forward to hearing from you. And our director here is going to let us know when we have calls there, and we appreciate him and all the folks here at Knoxville Community Media. Continuing here our conversation, of course, with Terry Landell. I think a memory I have of Terry early on is when Terry wore his white tuxedo and had his blonde hair. And I believe I've seen photos of someone else that had blonde hair back in the
off and on for a lot of years.
And a robe.
And
You know, and actually I bought a robe from Buddy Landell one time.
wow, yeah.
All right, he's working for Smoky Mountain Wrestling when Cornette was promoting in town, and Tim Horner at the time. And he says, Chris Candino, which he's also passed away also, but Buddy says, Candino would like to borrow your robe for television. Well, he passed, and I never have found my robe.
Oh, my.
Still?
Still.
Oh, my goodness.
I thought, you know, maybe I could get a hold of Sonny and she could, but, you know, all the drama and stuff that went on with that, I didn't even want to try to reach out and contact her.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, wrestling fans,
People there. If you see Tom Pitner's robe, send it in.
we're looking for it. We have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller, and welcome to Wrestle Talk. Who are we speaking to?
This is Ron.
Ron, thank you for calling Wrestle Talk tonight. And where are you from?
I'm from Knoxville.
Knoxville. Thank you so much. Well, welcome to Wrestle Talk.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate that you're doing this show. There was no better promoter in Knoxville than the Ktown daddy, Terry Landell. I loved Wrestle Talk when he was on it. He was a must-see every single week. No matter who you were in Knoxville, you knew about this show. And every time you went by the channel, if he was on it, you stopped and you watched it.
Well, Ron,
he was the best.
Well, Ron, we know one phrase that we often heard on Wrestle Talk, and they were printed on T-shirts, and I think you know what I'm talking about. What's that big phrase or big quote that you always heard from Terry?
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy? You do that pretty good, right?
There was a number 2 slogan too, but I won't disclose that one right now.
Yeah, and I'll disclose that. But I did want to say just a couple other quick things.
Yes.
There was no better champion in East Tennessee than Tom the Bomb Pitner.
Well, thank you, Ron. I really appreciate that.
That's the
he
truth.
was. I enjoyed coming to the shows and watching him wrestle, and there was no better champion than him. You know, there were a few times that his opponent cheated, and you know he was defeated, but you know, Tom was great, and Sammy V, no better ring announcer. Expert wrestling commentator. He was amazing on this on Wrestle Talk. Always loved seeing him, and you know, when Tennessee Mountain Wrestling was running in Knoxville full tilt, there was no other wrestling organization that could touch it. You know, there was a lot of reach arounds that tried, but nobody could touch Tennessee Mountain Wrestling.
Speaking of that number 2, that's number 2. And Terry often mentioned that Tennessee Mountain Wrestling, of course, is the longest running, in his words, wrestling promotion around. And I believe that to be true. That's here in Knoxville, especially.
Yes, it
was. And Ron, you brought back so many memories to us here tonight. And we appreciate you calling in here to Wrestle Talk. And we look forward to hearing from you every week. Be sure to call in.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. And Tom Pitner, it's hard to, to sit here and, I'm kind of between you and Dave here, but it's hard to believe that you were cheated. I don't know about that. I don't know if you were the one cheating or if your opponent, it's just hard for me to believe. I don't know.
Well, sometimes in this business you can bend the rules.
Yeah.
You got to fight fire with fire, and I've been known to fight fire with fire.
Yes. Sammy V, I'm sure on several occasions you probably have, of course, been in the ring. And Sammy V, as often as I watched you wrestle, never once did I ever see you cheat. I mean, that's the honest truth. Tom Pitner, on the other hand, I can't comment on that because he's right here. But Sammy V, I never saw that.
What are you saying there?
Yes. So you've been in a lot of matches, of course, and you've probably been with a lot of cheating wrestlers. So we know that you've wrestled so many. So who is, of course, someone that I would describe that you've wrestled?
Well, the one you'd recognize the most would be the Iron Sheik from the WWE.
Yes.
That was interesting. Wrestling a legend, former Olympian. That was probably one of my toughest ones.
Absolutely. Well, that was a great caller here, our very first caller.
I need to send him a check. Yeah,
I was gonna
for all
say,
that great. But you know what? Terry's the one that started all this and allowed me to be able to be here and be able to wrestle and be here, and all that goes out to Terry. He's the one that got us all doing this.
Yes.
I remember for about a year he said, "We're going to be on television. We're going to be on television." I said, "Well, okay," and then there it was.
Yeah,
was on television for at least 10, 11 years. And then he promoted for years. I spent about 13 years with him, been on vacation with him, and, I love the guy.
Sammy V, you mentioned a few moments ago that you were on the very first episode, of course, and how was it in those days? I know, you and all of us arrived here a little bit earlier, kind of kicked it into gear here a little bit, but how was it back then?
Well, if you knew Big Bill Needham, he talked the whole time. So people go, why'd you even go on there? I said, well, I went, between Terry and Bill Needham. I didn't get a word in. They said, maybe next week you might get to say something. I said, okay, we'll try it next week.
Big Bill Needham, of course, very passionate about pro wrestling, and he had that country twang to his voice. And Bill Needham, one of my heroes, and Terry Lindell, of course. Him and Bill Needham in the same room sometime was kind of chaotic, but
they went at it a little bit. They both had a little difference of opinions.
Yes.
And, that made for good television.
And Dave Jones, of course, there in the days that Terry and Bill were on Wrestle Talk. You were a part of filming, and of course we have our good friend out here that's helping us, but memories of those days, during your very first Wrestle Talk show, what was that like?
It was strange.
Yes.
I'd been working. I'd worked at CTV probably. Do you remember what year it was, Sammy, when it started?
Oh my goodness, I've slept since then. It's been a while. Tommy
I started
may
working
remember.
in '95.
Probably mid-'90s.
It was. I was thinking it was '94, '95, somewhere in there. Anyway, I'd been working.
It was never a dull moment.
And people were talking about that it was. You were on Monday nights at first, wasn't it? Was it Mondays?
I believe it was on about every night of the week at different
moved around
times,
a lot.
different time slots. But it was the number one show going at that time.
Oh, it was, and then I got kind of thrust upon it. It was like, hey, nobody else can work. You got to come in. I was like, uh-oh. And next thing I knew, it's like, hey, come in next week and do it again. And I did it for not the whole 10 years, but several years in a row I did. I was the guy where Justin is right now.
Well, Dave Jones, great memories, of course. Sammy V, I would imagine that I would have been nervous, very nervous, and I always get a few butterflies in my stomach, before doing these things. But I grew up watching Wrestle Talk, of course, every single week. It was something that we enjoyed watching. You never know, Terry left a cliffhanger always on the end of the show, always to give the fans something exciting to look forward to the next week. And it's just been crazy. Well, we have another caller on the line. Our friend Justin back here has put them on the air. Welcome to Wrestle Talk, caller. What's your name?
Nick.
Nick, and we can't hear you too well. We'll see. Nick, where are you calling from?
Oh, I'm from Knoxville.
Knoxville, Tennessee. Very good. Well, Nick, welcome to Wrestle Talk.
Glad to be here. I've had a lot of good memories of Terry Lindell. He's one of one of my heroes. I got to attend TMW for over a decade, and I have a lot of good memories of it. Every Saturday, the shows were great. The wrestling was good. I enjoyed everything, and one of my favorite memories, it was around, I want to say 2011, the parade that is the most innovative, that's never been done. He was a genius. That idea of a wrestling parade was phenomenal. It was amazing. That was a first, and I enjoyed watching Wrestle Talk. And I remember my favorite was it was Sammy, Braun Wright, and Mr. X, Terry Landell, and they were getting into a big. They were going at it, and I remember he had the black glove, the loaded glove. Oh, that was a good segment. He was always hilarious. He was always so funny and hilarious on the microphone. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely, and in that parade, of course, we were introduced to the Roland Wrestling Ring. And the Roland Wrestling Ring, of course, was included in not only the parade that you're referring to, but other parades. And I think a lot of times I saw the Patriot in matches in the ring and others, but the Roland Wrestling Ring, how about that?
That was amazing. That's one of the most genius and innovative concepts in wrestling I've ever seen. It was amazing, and I'm honored to have attended his shows and known him. He was the man.
Very good. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Wrestle Talk. We look forward to hearing from you next week, and thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome. I want to say
over there.
The black glove. I wonder who has something to do with, when he mentioned Tom Pitner a moment ago.
Can I steal that catchphrase that Terry used to say and call some of you people out there a bunch of groundhogs?
That's number 3.
Is that number 3?
Number 3, yes.
Number 3.
And when we would get calls, Terry'd call them a groundhog and hang up on them. I've seen people call in, they didn't get a word in edgewise. Click!
Well, Terry often shared that his blood pressure was up, and I believe that's about
Well, that worried me a lot, Terry. He got a rolling. I didn't know if we was going to have to carry him out or what.
Yes.
On a serious note, that just goes to show you need to take care of your health. You know, if Terry had went to doctors and took care of things, he may still be with us today. So if you got problems, people, go to a doctor, get checked out, try to eat right, exercise, do whatever it takes, because life's too short, and treasure every moment of it.
Tom Pitner, some people may, the religious people may get mad, but, I believe that Terry's up there, Jesus, and he's telling all them, Jesus, who's your daddy? And he's telling all them angels, who's your daddy?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, he's going to be the longest running wrestling promoter in heaven, I believe. And it was great to hear from that caller. And you can call in and talk to us live. We're going to be taking your calls for just a few more minutes. Remembering the Ktown Daddy, Terry Landell. And that phone number to call us here live, 865-215-4337. And fans, we'd love to hear from you. Love to hear comments and memories, of course, on the Ktown Daddy. As mentioned earlier tonight, of course, Terry Landell got his start in '79 in wrestling, and in 1986, Terry Landell became a wrestling promoter. Terry Landell ran shows here in the area, and he had, of course, learned this old school mentality, which is, I believe, the best mentality, the best mindset that you can have with promoting wrestling. But were either of you guys around?
He had a lot of good houses when he was actually running Fulton High School.
Yes.
And that was about the time that he actually started promoting. Terry used to drive I guess it was probably an 82 or an 83 Tornado that was just slick as glass. And, of course, he had the bling-bling on the gold chains and this and that. Who knows how he was making his money back in those days, but he become legit and become a promoter. Oh, thank you, sir.
Some of
I'm a
the
little thirsty.
some of the guys there back in the day, of course. I was born in '86. I know you guys were around. I'm the youngest one here, but a lot of the names that I knew that at the point that I began going to wrestling, of course, in the '90s, Thad Clark, Chris Powers, Deke Rivers, man, so many. Tom Pitner. Wendell Cooley, Jeff Anderson, a lot of these guys. Jeff Anderson, I believe at that time, the Chippendale. I don't know if that was his name or not. But
Chip and Dale, yeah.
And Tom Pitner, Buddy Landale. And then there's one that ran around all the time, Sweet Marvin Gaye. Sweet Marvin Gaye, I know.
And I'm not for certain, Sammy may correct me, but during Terry's promotional career here in Knoxville, I believe he's had 2 world champions, former world champions. One, Ronnie Garvin, NWA champion, has worked for the organization at times. And he's also brought in Larry Sabisco, which was an AWA world champion.
Yes, remember that?
That's absolutely right.
That's absolutely right.
A lot of great legends here in the area. And when I was, of course, ring announcing with Ron's Championship Wrestling, I remember Terry bringing in Buff, the Stuff, Bagwell. We were at a local car lot doing an autograph session with Buff. Went over to the show. The Armory, of course, there next to West High School, packed that night. And I believe both of you guys may have been there and at many other shows at the National Guard Armory.
Well, I just don't like you talking about Buff Bagwell, because if he was here, I'd probably slap the taste out of his mouth.
Well, I absolutely I absolutely think that would happen. And
Buff, gracious.
Buff the Bagwell could very well be sent this video here, but he, if I were to want to see a match, it would be honestly between Buff Bagwell and Tom Pitner.
Well, I'm no stranger to him. I'll put it that way. Just because you look pretty buff and go to the gym, that doesn't mean you know how to wrestle. I forgot more about wrestling than you ever even knew.
Something's brewing here.
So, Tom Pitner, at a point in your career, or maybe through your career here in Tennessee Mountain Wrestling, East Tennessee, Terry Landale at points in time managed you. So what was it like to have Terry as a manager or ambassador?
Well, I think I'm still waiting on some of the money, because he was handling the affairs on that. So, rest your soul, Terry. If you got any jewelry on, you better tell the family to pull it off, because, I may try to come collect a little, but I know you would understand.
Absolutely. Sammy V, I've never seen Terry manage you before, and that would be quite interesting.
That would have been interesting.
Wow.
Thinking of the times that you were in a match with a wrestler and Terry was the manager, what's something that comes to mind? A sneak trick or some cheating? What's something that comes to mind with Terry?
Well, with Terry, there's no limits to what Terry would do to get the win, to keep his guy the champion. So,
yes.
Oh man. I tell you one story though, it don't go with that. One night down at the Armory near West High School, Terry was involved in something I was announcing, and this woman that was in the crowd, she jumped. Somebody did something to Terry. Terry's laying there in the ring. She jumps over the rail and starts doing CPR on him. That's one of the funniest nights ever.
Well, she's passed away also, and I remember that well.
Yes. She had a son that she brought to wrestling all the time, and she got killed there at the credit union.
Yes.
And we did a memorial. Terry did a lot of good things. He did a memorial for her and helped her son out, and that's how Terry did stuff.
Absolutely. And a lot of fans come to memory. I know a lot of times going to the shows, I remember seeing, and the Tennessee Mountain Wrestling fans are probably the most loyal fans.
Oh, they were great. They were great.
You see, and we're going to be taking more calls here in just a moment. But guys, we know sometimes fans by the first name. So, Sammy, who's a fan that you remember by first name? I can think of many, but
well, one of the most characters would be Betty Stout.
Betty Stout. That was,
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned her, Sammy V. That was wonderful times with her.
She actually got a chance to come on television one night.
up here. Yeah.
We were in Andrew
Yeah.
Johnson
Yeah.
building, and
Yeah.
she's
I got some
chasing
stories
Jeff
about that.
Anderson around the table. Oh, it was great.
Betty
Yeah,
Stout.
That was Christmas too, and remember that poinsettia?
Yes.
And,
so you remember that one?
She snuck it back there, and I said, "Okay, well, you're gonna just kind of act like you hit him on the head." No, I'm gonna hit. And they had the pot in it, and I took it out, and I took the pot, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, you can't hit it."
Yeah, that was a classic.
thought
I wish
it was
we
a
had some of
liability
them
thing. We
tapes.
couldn't have a man knocked out on live TV. So
Well, Betty
Remember
Stout
that.
sounded like a character. Speaking of Wrestle Talk fans, we have a Wrestle Talk caller here on the line. Good evening, caller, and welcome to Wrestle Talk Live.
What's happening, JoJo? It's John in Knoxville. Hey, yeah, Sammy stole my thunder there. I was just going to remind you, back, I guess more 2010 when Terry did that show for Big Bubba. He was there when his mom got killed in that bank robbery there on Wilson Road, and that's the type of guy Terry was. He helped people out. I know he's a big wrestler promoter, but he helped people out when they needed it, and I was at that show, and that was a good thing he did for him, and he did a lot of things for the community. So I know he's going to be missed, and just for you, JoJo, I hope that you're going to keep doing this on community TV.
Well, we plan to keep doing this, and Dave Jones, of course, we have had a Wrestle Talk program on a very special Agenda Video Network. That's available, of course, online. You can look all that up. But and then, of course, our debut Wrestle Talk show is tonight. And I talked to Terry just a few weeks ago, and I had sent him a video of Wrestle Talk, and he said I enjoyed it, and that meant a lot to me. It gave me the blessing to do this program. And this program, from this point forward, is going to be in memory of Terry and Bill and all the folks that have been a part of it. And mentioning things that Terry has done in the community, Terry was a big ambassador for the children. He loved the children here in Knoxville.
That was Christmas for the kids.
That's right. He sure did. Yeah, he did a lot for the community, especially around Christmas time. Took up toys for tots and all kinds of good things. But no, he's going to be missed. But anyway, I'll let you go get more callers. Keep up the good work, and look forward to seeing the show, man. Have a good one.
Thank you for joining us here on Wrestle Talk tonight. And speaking of some things that Terry has done here in the community, Terry Lindell invented the first ever handicapped wrestling ring. And I know I've been to several events where Terry would have this ring set up, and this allowed those bound to a wheelchair or those with special needs to step in the ring, take photos, and kind of lean up against the ropes and different things. And what a great thing that was. And I know you guys remember that. And then Terry and Sammy mentioned a moment ago, Christmas for the kids. Terry was the first promoter. I know a lot of promoters have done those events, but Terry got the ball rolling with that program.
Yes, I always look forward to that, because Terry always said he didn't want a kid to wake up Christmas morning without something under the tree.
Yes. Well, fans, we thank you for calling in here to Wrestle Talk tonight, and we loved your calls. We appreciate that very much, and we look forward to hearing from just a couple more fans, quite possibly here. A little bit later, we're going to be going to a very special classic video, and I know I mentioned this a couple of times tonight, guys, but you're going to be surprised. I mean, it's a very good video, and I believe we have one more caller that we're going to take here tonight. And good evening, caller, and welcome to Wrestle Talk. Who are we speaking to? JT, thank you so much for calling Wrestle Talk tonight. JT, where are you from?
This is JT Coleman. I'm a wrestler. I told Joel I'd call.
Coal miner!
Coal miner. Oh, my goodness. JT Coal Miner, thank you for calling. Actually, probably two of my favorite wrestlers in the world was JT Coal Miner and Chaos. I'm not sure what Chaos is up to these days, but two of my favorite wrestlers, and JT Coal Miner, a lot of memories with Terry, and thanks for calling in tonight. Yes. So JT Coal Miner.
First of all, Joel,
Yes.
it's time for me to talk. How about you just let me talk now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, and I'm looking at this TV screen. I see Tom Pitner over here.
Uh-oh.
I hear you, coal miner.
I hear you. All right. I get nightmares when I look at this man. You want to talk about scientific wrestling, Tommy Pitner can do it. You want to talk about brawling, Tommy Pitner can do it. Man, I had a chain match with him a few years ago, Ron Wright chain match. Actual chain that belonged to Ron Wright. I bled more in that match than I've ever bled in the last 25 years of wrestling, I'll tell you that. That's a tough guy, so I'm going to give him props. Sammy V over here, I see you, Sammy V. You're sitting next to this groundhog, Sonny Fargo. You're going to have to go home and take a bath 2 or 3 times, get rid of that, buddy.
I got something to say that just because you was in a wrestling ring, knocked me plumb up out my boots. Don't think that you're not. I don't even know what I can say when you knock me up out my boots.
Well, JT Coal
Sonny,
Miner.
shut up. You're an old groundhog, what you are. Reach around groundhog. That's exactly what you are.
That was saying number 3, right?
Yeah, that's
number three.
Number 3. JT Coal Miner. I know a lot of times you were in a tag team match. Terry was in the corner of the other guys, and Terry, of course, back in the day, in the corner of some of the meanest and toughest guys. But I believe you to be, and of course, Chaos, who was your partner back in the 2 of the toughest guys in pro wrestling. When did you start working with wrestling here in the area?
Lord, I believe I trained about the same time Sammy V did, the Deke Rivers back in the day. It was about 1994, I think, back when we started. And I'll tell you what, I love Sammy. Okay, he's my tag team partner for life. But I did have a partner named Chaos, and back in the day, we were wrestling. Had an angle going, man. We were going at it hard with a team called the Memphis Mafia. And I don't know if you remember them. We talk about Tommy Pitner being a tough guy, man. The Memphis Mafia, when you went and wrestled with them, it wasn't a wrestling match at all. It was a brawl. We went through a lot of deal there with them. And Sammy, he was my buddy back then too. But anyway, we were going at it, and my partner Chaos at the time, he ended up turning on me and going over to the other side with Mike Powers. So Terry brought in Donnie Wright. Ron Wright was there that night, and brought in Donnie Wright to tag with me against the Memphis Mafia. And, of course, it was actually against the Memphis Mafia, 2 of the toughest guys around, and Mike Powers, and Chaos at the time. And I was in the ring, and we were going at it with them, man. The house was packed. I don't know if you remember that, Joel, but it was at Holston Middle School. The house was packed. When you come into the doors, it walked the ring, ton of people. It was just a big crowd. Tommy Pitner, he was always around. Anyway, we were going at it hot and heavy, and man, I had the brains beat out, and I made a big tag to Don Wright, and he come in. And every one of them fed to the ring, one after another, and he hard at me. Don Wright looked at me and he said, JT, give me your boot. Well, I threw my boot over the top rope. He KO'd every one of them, man. He got a 1, 2, 3 count. That's probably one of the biggest memories I have being with him. The Wright boys, they're legends. And when we got that 3 count, the house come unglued, and that's one of the most special memories. Of course, I've had a lot with Sammy, too. We've been tag team champions everywhere we went. But, the bottom line is, I'm telling you this, also that night, whenever we defeated them, Terry was in the ring in their corner also. And, he starts jumping up and down and yelling and screaming or whatever. But the bottom line is, that's a great memory in my life of professional wrestling. And you know who the promoter was, of course. It was Terry Landell. And to like him or love him, the guy loved wrestling. I'll just tell you like it is. Terry, in the old days, man, it was territories. You had your territory, you defended it. And Terry felt like, to his dying day, Knoxville, Tennessee was his wrestling territory. Like it or not, that's how he felt. So, therefore, a lot of people were alienated. A lot of people don't like him. But, the guy, he's old school. Tommy's old school. He'll tell you. Terry was my buddy. He was my friend, and he was a lot of people's friends. Would I always get along with him? Absolutely not. He was a hard-headed old fella. It was going to be his way or the highway. That's just the way it was. But in my opinion, he was good at what he did. I'm thankful for him. I think that the Ktown Daddy, Terry Landell, that name will be around in Knoxville, Tennessee for many years to come.
Absolutely. JT Coal Miner, thank you for calling tonight here on Wrestle Talk. And I'm sitting here thinking about it, a match between Chaos and Sammy V. What would that have been like? That would have been a good match. You guys are, as big as each other, very similar in size, and that would have been interesting.
It would have been interesting.
It would have been rough and tough, but you are as well. So,
in my opinion, I know both the guys. I believe Chaos would have had the upper hand in that because he was a little bit meaner than Sammy V.
We talk about stretching the rules.
Yes.
Chaos would stretch the rules.
Yes.
Coal Miner's been known to stretch the rules also.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, JT Coal Miner. And speaking of memory, speaking about going back in time, we're going to go back in time to the year 1998. And in 1998, Wrestle Talk was a very, very popular show here on Knoxville Community Television, at that time known as CTV. And you're going to see two familiar faces in this video, three familiar faces rather, and you'll hear one familiar voice. We're going to go to this tape, and we'll be right back in just a few moments right here on Wrestle Talk.
Right, I want you to tell these people right here in Knoxville, first of all, I want to correct something. It's Kim getting married to Don Tim. I'm going to tell you something, Tim, once again. Kim, get smart and just say no. She don't need to be getting married. Dave Sparks, you need to tell her don't to get married, man.
Who's this Tammy?
Let's talk about wrestling here, Mr. Landale. We got a match coming up here the 27th. Before we get started, I'd like for you to thank all these people. It's kind enough passing out these tickets to these fans that's going to get to see this free. They're going to get to see old Ron Wright, more than likely take this walking stick and make a knot bow tie out of his head with it.
I promise you one thing, I'll get tired of the phone calls every day that people don't like you right here in Knoxville.
I hadn't had any of them people to call up here and tell me that. What I've had them to call me all the way into Kingsport is they wish we'd do something with the loudmouth, stutter tongue, yellow belly Landale down here and get him out of the way. That's the phone calls I've had. You talk about what you've had all you want to. I hadn't heard nobody tell me anything like that.
Well, that's because you ain't letting nobody call in tonight. This has been the worst show. Hey, y'all lock me out, that's the first thing. Then when y'all see Tommy come up, you want y'all send on somebody down there to unlock the door because you got scared. But I'm going to tell you, Ron Wright, I'm going to do something to you. I'm tired of you.
Are you threatening me, Landale?
Whatever you want to, how you want to take it, baby.
You might ought to keep your mouth shut because you're not man enough, neither's Pitner to back you
Hey,
up.
I didn't say that. I don't need Pitner. Hey, I've got all kind of boys right here in Knoxville.
What you need to do is this, get yourself prepared to come down there and be handcuffed to Ron Wright and watch Mr. Pitner. Mr. Golden is going to give you a teetotal, you know what kind of hind end kicking, brother.
There ain't no way. I'm the one dishing out the dog
you go
whoopings
try
now,
to do it.
Ron.
I've got my money on Golden, but the main thing, I've got my money on Ron Wright's ability to keep little lame brain, shaved head Landale out of the ring.
Hey, I got more hair than you got.
Oh, let's pull your hood off. Let's see it. Let's pull your hood off.
I'll
Let's see
tell
how
you
much
what,
hair
you better shut your mouth.
Yeah, you
You better sit down there, old man,
I think
before I
you've been
knock
in
you
here.
down.
I think you've been in here long enough before your blood pressure boils over and you die on us here on TV. You need to go ahead and get out of here and take it on home. Keep a head, keep a towel on your head and keep your head, Landale.
Yeah. What you need to do, you need to quit running your mouth.
You need to call me.
I'll be at the club, brother. I'll be there. Hey,
Good night, Mr. Pitner. You have.
Hey, I need some of these free tickets too. Hey, I need to
Get them tickets. You don't need these tickets. These are giveaways. Tony and Sonny's going to take care of giving away tickets.
Oh, no, I'm taking them to East Tennessee, baby. I see Waters now. Hey, Daddy's getting them out here now. I'm going to tell you, I'm taking them to Ball Market. Hey, I got rid of Larry Allison. That's the best thing. I thought I got rid of you. And then old Betty wants to call you up there in Kingsport. That old stupid Robert out there on Broadway.
They keep calling me up and keeping me informed what happened down here, Mr. Lame Brain. And the attorneys finally got everything cut and dried.
Yeah, that's what's wrong with you.
The Ron School, I've got the Ron's van, and I've even got the title to the Who's Your Daddy van. Watch his blood pressure boiling. Go ahead and boil over, Landale. Can't you stand it?
I
Is
don't
it more
like
than
you.
can take?
And Sammy V, I don't like you, brother. Something's going to happen to you.
Don't
I'm
put
telling
your finger up there and point in his face like that. Why don't you go ahead and get it on out of the TV studio before you boil over and let us try to finish
I'll tell you
this
what,
program
hey,
tonight.
What day, man? I'll tell you what. Hey, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get up and walk out of here. But I'll tell you what's going to happen. I don't like you. And Sammy V, you ain't done nothing but stab everybody in the back. Anybody out there knows Sammy V ain't been a backstabber.
You're a good man, Sammy V.
Yeah.
Thank you, Good man, Sammy
Yeah,
V.
he ain't done nothing but cheat all his life. Let me tell you something. That's what's wrong with the wrestling business today. You got egg-sucking dogs like you sucked your way through the wrestling business. Oh, let me help you, Ron Wright. I can do some good in Knoxville. That's what's wrong with the wrestling business in Knoxville and outside of Knoxville. A bunch of wannabe boys getting in the wrestling business, and I'm telling you, Ron, I don't like you, baby.
You know what I think of you? I remember you, Landale, when you was just a little snip. You run around with me. You run around, carried my bags. You wasn't nothing but a wannabe yourself, wanting to get in the wrestling business.
Let me tell you something,
You carried
Ron,
my
right?
bags. You kissed up. You done everything you can do.
Hey,
well, you ought to be over me because you're not man enough to do nothing about
Let me
it.
tell you what you need to do.
You go ahead and tell me.
All right, well, what happens next? We can't show these days here on Wrestle Talk, but you saw two familiar faces. But guys, we saw two completely different hairstyles.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened in that clip later on. I think Ron Wright took a swing at Terry.
I think that we have the clip, and that clip we're going to have on our Wrestle Talk social media page. So look on your social media sites, look for Wrestle Talk, and we're going to post that video on there, the whole video. And fans, you can see for yourself. I don't know if what Tom Pitner is describing was the same event or not, but
I believe it was.
Now, how in the world can you get Terry to calm down the way? I mean, I've never seen that. Sammy V, I've never seen somebody be able to calm him. I mean, he didn't calm down that much, but
it was you just had to work with him to get him to calm down. He was just in a class of his own.
Yes. Well, guys, what a classic video that was. Of course, we saw Ron Wright and Sammy V were there in the middle of the chaos that night. And as the fans will see on the remainder of the video, things didn't turn out great, of course.
I'm trying to be neutral at that point. You know, I'm the middle guy. I'm trying to be neutral there. You got Mr. X, Tommy, against Ron, and, I'm just the middle guy.
Honestly, I believe Terry reminds me a lot of Ron Wright with that mouth. I mean, that the screaming and yelling, and Ron was getting at Terry in that video. But yeah, Ron Wright, of course, someone that Terry looked up to, and Bob Orton Jr. and many others. And back in the day, of course, you had a title, Tom Pitner, and you carried that title for a long time, and one of the only champions here that was a champion for the time period you were, of course. And back in the day, Terry Landale and Tom the Bomb Pitner, that was the crew right there. That was the who to be in Tennessee Mountain Wrestling. But guys, what a classic video that was, certainly. And fans, we're going to post more classic videos here on Wrestle Talk as the weeks go by. And Tom Pitner, over the years, Terry Landale, of course, here on Wrestle Talk with Tennessee Mountain Wrestling, and with a lot of other ventures. Terry Landale also did a lot with the Tennessee Valley Fair, and then, of course, the Legends shows. And Tom and I were talking a little bit earlier, some of the guys that has been here in the Legends with the Legends shows. And we know that, Tom, you've been on some of the Tennessee Valley Fair shows.
Got to wrestle a lot of good talent. Got to wrestle Brad Armstrong on one of the Legend shows, and Brad's no longer with us also. Great wrestler. A lot of, we've had Rock and Roll Express has been on some of the Legend shows, World Tag Team NWA champions.
lot of great
Kong
competitors.
Bundy
King
was
Kong
here.
Bundy.
King Kong Bundy was here. That's for certain.
The Big Boss Man.
Yes.
Which both have passed away.
Yeah.
And of course, back in I believe it was 2018, if I'm not mistaken, Ron Fuller came into the Legends show, the Tennessee Mountain Wrestling there at the fair. And back in 2000, of course, we all know that story. And it was kind of crazy to see those two in the same ring at the same time talking to each other. But what an afternoon that was. If I remember correctly, also that day they had Robert Fuller there. And what a character he was, Tom Pitner.
Well, I tell you what, when I don't even know what Fuller called it, when they brought in the people over there and we were running opposition against them when they were doing Chilhowie Park, and it became a very heated situation. Of course, Cornette got involved with that, and Terry, and I don't think there's any love lost between those two up to this day.
Yes.
No, there's a lot of...
Yes.
Somebody was telling me that Cornette came out and said something that he could talk about it now because the statute of limitations had expired. He tried to run over Terry Landell.
Can I say something to that? He didn't actually try to run over Terry Landell. He was trying to get away because Terry Landell sprayed him with hairspray. And then that one security guard had that hot pepper, and Terry sprayed him hot pepper and sprayed the girl he was driving. And he was just trying to get away from Terry and run plumb over Terry, and his wheels did. That was what was funny about it.
Well, what a summer that was, the summer of
Ktown
2000.
Smackdown, I believe
That was what it was.
And, of course, Terry Landell, I believe I remember seeing Jim Wogan, the old sportscaster.
Jim Wogan.
And he did an interview both with Terry and with Ron Fuller. And Terry's a shorter guy. Him and Jim Wogan stood. Jim Wogan had to climb up on the chair to interview Ron Fuller.
I believe Fuller was like 6'9" or somewhere around in there.
Yes.
Played basketball down in the Florida area in college. Then he got into professional wrestling.
I heard a lot of stories from back in the day, Tom Pitner, where the bad guys, especially as mad as you and Terry used to make some of these fans, it was hard for them to leave some of the venues with the angry fans outside. And we know, we've heard of a lot of experiences with wrestlers even being threatened with so many things. I mean,
over the years, some of us were even threatened by a promoter one time. And I believe a gun was pulled in that situation. You might remember hearing about that, Sonny.
I know about that. I remember what happened that night.
I believe that was over at Moses Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that brings back wanting the junkyard dog.
That was when Terry brought the junkyard dog for all of us to see. That was who Terry Landell was. He brought the great wrestlers from all over the world here in Knoxville, Tennessee. He's the only one that ever did. You wrestled a lot of them too, though, Pitner.
Well, Terry Landell brought a lot of great shows here to East Tennessee. I think one of the biggest memories, guys, that I have is the events at Homer Hamilton in the multiple ring battle royal. We had 3 different rings there, and so many guys came out to do this battle royal. I've never seen 3 rings. A 3-ring battle royal.
Well, we also had a blindfold battle royal.
That could be
blindfold. I know.
I barely remember this.
A lot of people were peeking through those blindfolds.
And
I was waiting for you to say that, Tom Pitner.
I'm sure that some of you men out here will remember this, but Terry Landell hosted, and this is as a child. I never. I've seen Candy Devine and some of those come through, here in the area. But my very first women's wrestling show was women's mud wrestling over at Chilhowie Park's.
Oh my Lord!
And what a night! Mud all over.
Well, right across the street at the Bijou, they had it also.
Yes.
I actually sponsored a girl that wrestled in that mud wrestling contest, and we were trying, I think it was Wolfman was with me that night, and we were trying to throw Terry in the mud. And I tell you what, you didn't think that Terry was stout. He was pretty stout when he didn't want to get tossed in the mud. He was hanging on for everything for dear life.
What a show that was. And, my mom. I was like, Mom, what is going on here in mud wrestling? But it's a memory. A lot of great women wrestlers, of course, came through Tennessee Mountain Wrestling. I mentioned a moment ago Candy Devine, one of the legends. She defended her title so many times here in East Tennessee.
Well, Bambi and Peggy Lee Leather wrestled at Legend Show.
Yes.
And I was the guest referee.
Yeah.
Well, you were a
Combs.
lucky one, wasn't you?
I don't know
Man,
about that
alive.
one.
No,
That was the night that
not
Debbie
mistaken,
Combs was over here, and Terry got Candy and snuck in there.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, Bambi was Jake Roberts' sister.
Wow.
If I'm correct.
Yes.
I may be wrong, but I believe that's how it goes.
I believe that is right, because I watched a special on Jake the Snake. That's a story in itself.
Yes, Jake the Snake Roberts, a phenomenal athlete, and of course his daughter, a rough and tough women's wrestler, and so many great memories from Chilhowee Park, of course. And this was right after guys Smoky Mountain Wrestling ceased operations, and Tennessee Mountain Wrestling, of course, at that time. I believe this was around 95, 96 probably, and we began to see a lot of events, of course, with the Tennessee Mountain Wrestling and All-Star Wrestling before that, and then Ron's Championship.
Well, you had the Macho
Wrestling.
Man Randy Savage.
Yes.
I believe it was in All-Star Wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember one time Macho Randy Savage. Terry said he's going to have a steak match. That was over at NOX studio, and Macho Man won. Terry went over and got him a hot dog and told him that was the East Tennessee Ktown steak.
I thought it was his payoff.
Yeah, well, you didn't get a Coke that day.
Well,
I tried to get Terry to write a book.
Yeah, that would be a New York Times #1 bestseller.
Him and Ron Wright both. I said, y'all need to write a book because it would be one of the best sellers.
Yes.
Because everything that went on, it would be really great.
Yes. Well, fans, tonight, and we're not done yet. We've celebrated the life and career, of course, of Terry Landale. As you saw in that video earlier, Terry Landale, most of the time, his blood pressure was up, and I'm sure that many of you were referred to as groundhogs, and we've all heard "Who's Your Daddy?" But these things made who Terry Landale was and who he is in professional wrestling. Terry Landale's legacy in Knoxville will always be remembered. His moments on television here on Wrestle Talk, unforgettable, especially moments, of course, like with Ron Wright, Tom Pitner, of course, and Sammy V. And fans, I can't believe that he's not here with us, but using Wrestle Talk and using this media platform, we're going to remember Terry and all the great things that he's done. Celebrations of Terry's life will take place this Friday over at Minot Funeral Home, and those will start at 5 o'clock, receiving family and friends. 7 o'clock, of course, is the service. A lot of the great memories of Terry Landale, of course. I look forward to being there, and of course, and speaking with many of the fans and a lot of the wrestlers that will be in attendance. But it's going to be a great celebration. Several things coming up to support the Landale family. If you look up our social media page, Wrestle Talk, you'll find out all about that. And I believe there's something going on over at on North Broadway in a few days. So you'll have the opportunity, if you go on our social media page or call the hotline 865-282-4640. Guys, final thoughts here tonight. What a night it's been. When we came into this thing, we came in really not knowing, of course, what would happen, what would take place. But I think this has been a phenomenal show tonight. A lot of great memories brought up. Tom Pitner, final thoughts tonight here, remembering the Ktown Daddy.
Well, remembering the Ktown Daddy, I remember once they put out the rumor that Ronnie Garvin had died. And everybody was thinking, Garvin's dead. I was thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to take off and go to a funeral and everything. Well, lo and behold, Garvin wasn't dead. And I just feel like that this isn't quite real, even though I've seen Terry during his sick time. You feel like he's just going to walk through the door and take over the show.
Yes.
That's just how you feel. He had that kind of, you can feel his spirit with you tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his spirit is definitely in this studio, and of course, it's unforgettable. Dave Jones, final thoughts, memories of the Ktown Daddy. Who's your daddy?
Yeah, who's your daddy? I think it was talking about some women's wrestling. That was the first time he asked me to come down, bring the cameras, and check it out and see what I thought. And I saw all those pretty women. I was like, this is for me. I'm in for life. And then these guys showed up later, and I was like, oh, man, what the heck? But, hey, it kind of changed my life. A lot of good times I've had. And he's a controversial guy, but, the preponderance of evidence, I think he just crosses that line over the 50%, so he was a good guy. He did a lot of good things in life, and I think that's how he'll be remembered, especially around here.
Sammy V, we know more than anyone that you have lots of great memories of Terry's. You were side by side with Terry, not only in the public's eye, of course, but behind the cameras. And
well, to know Terry is to love Terry.
Yes.
Had a great times. We did some crazy stuff. Handed out balloons at old Charlie's when we're not supposed to. Went on vacation. You couldn't get him on a roller coaster.
I can't imagine.
But I love the guy, and he means everything in wrestling around here, and we'll miss him, but he'll never be forgotten.
No.
Who's your daddy will never be forgotten.
Sonny Fargo, we know you have your memories, and what are your final thoughts tonight?
Terry Landell, that was the nice guy that done things to people. I'll always remember the match when we was way up in the country at this little schoolhouse, and this little boy didn't have anybody, and Terry gave him tickets to dough. The little boy come back and said, I sold them tickets that you give me where I could get me a hot dog. Terry went out and gave the little boy a hot dog, and it come to the little boy didn't have a daddy, and he only has mama. She worked every day trying to take care of him. Terry took his mama and bought her two them big carts full of groceries, and got the little boy and gave him a Who's Your Daddy shirt. And that's just the way Terry was. He was just a loving, great somebody that helped him. And I agree with Tom Pitner. I think that one day he's just going to walk back to us. And when you just think about Terry, it just makes you feel so happy and makes you just want to happy all over yourself.
Absolutely. Well, fans, it's been a great night tonight here on Wrestle Talk, and we're going to be here every Wednesday night live at 7 o'clock. You never know, this character, Tom Pitner might show up.
Well, if Terry had a washcloth and some soap tonight, he would have definitely known what to do with it. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about.
Wrestling fans, of course, on behalf of all of us here at Wrestle Talk, special thank you to Justin, our producer, and doing all that back there. Miss Cindy, of course, our special guest tonight, Tom the Bomb Pitner, Dave Jones, the great Sammy V, and then Sonny Fargo. I'm Joel Lawson. Be sure to call the wrestling hotline, 865-282-4640. The Terry Landell Memorial event coming up March 18th in Luttrell. From all of us here at the Big Bill Needham Memorial Studios in the Knoxville Community Media Television, good night. Thank you for joining us here on Wrestle Talk. We'll see you.